Alrighty, so we now have our Jetsons and the ship cut out. Now what we're going to do is we are going to go to File, Open, and we are going to the sand dunes. We're going to click Open on that. Okay, and what you're going to do is you can either use the magnetic lasso tool and go across this skyline and cut out the sky. I'm going to do that to kind of really get along that edge. But as you notice, if I go across real fast, it's not going to be as clear. Okay, so I'm going to have to add to my selection, which I can do. Make sure that your brush is big enough. Okay, and you can add those pixels in. Okay, and you can, oh, you know what? I forgot the most important step. Very first step is that you have to unlock your layer. Good thing is I can do that even though I already have my pixels selected. Now, what you're going to do is you can just delete it and then boom, you have just the desert, okay? Or the dunes or whatever. We are going to find a different sky, okay? Now I've provided a sky. If you want to get crafty with it and put a different sky in there, that's totally fine, but I'm just going to show you something with the sky that I have, okay? So what we're going to do, we're going to go to File, Open, and we are going to open up the sea and sky. Now the great thing about this one is I could literally cut out the entire sky using the rectangular marquee tool because it's a pretty even line going across there. Okay, so I can do that, and what I can do, again, make sure you double click on that, unlock it, is you can literally hover over it with your move tool selected, and you see those scissors? You can literally cut it out and click and drag it over to your sand dunes. Shkaboom, you have a new sky. Okay? And in order to see it clearly, you can drag it under the dunes layer. Okay? And you can pull it up just a little bit so you can see some of those clouds. Another way you could have done it is maybe I just wanted part of the sky. Okay, so I can actually go in and I can transform my selection, and I'm just going to, you'll have to hold Shift if you want a skinnier version. So right now, without holding Shift, it's just going to do it evenly. Well, I want to make it just one regular rectangle, okay? And then once you have a skinny rectangle, you can click Enter. And I'm going to click and drag with my move tool selected. I can see that scissors, those scissors. And I'm going to click and drag that over here, okay? And you notice it's too small. Well, that's okay. I can hit Command T, hold down Shift, and I can stretch those pixels across. And you see it doesn't really super distort. It won't do that necessarily if you have a higher resolution image. And we do want to make sure though that we're not stretching pixels that are going to truly look distorted. So this is a good trick for anything like a sky or something that can be manipulated in that uneven ratio, kind of like what I was showing you with holding down the Shift key and then clicking and dragging. Okay, well, I don't really like that version of the sky, so I'm going to go ahead and just delete that layer that I just created. I really like those clouds in there. Adds a nice little touch, a little different feel Okay, so I'm done with this. I don't really need it anymore. I'll just go ahead and click out of it, and you don't have to save it. So don't save. And now what we're going to do is we are going to drag our ship over to our sand dunes. Okay, and you notice that it goes behind. We want it to go in front. Okay, and if we want it to be smaller, we can hit Command T and just click and drag. Okay, and I kind of want it to maybe match a little bit more of the hues and brightness of the scene. So I can go into Image and I can go to Adjustments and I can change the color balance. I can bring out more of the greens. Oh, that is lovely. It's wonderful. You can change the tones of the shadows as well. So I'm going to make it very green. So those shadows are going to bring out more of the greens. And the highlights, you can also make a little bit more green if you want, or you can explore different colors. So maybe you want to add more blues to those highlights, which is totally doable. Okay, so those are, you always want to make sure this preview box is checked too so you can see what you're doing. So I'm still on the highlights. I can go in and I can just adjust those midtones and those shadows. Make it as vibrant as I would like it. I'm going to just kind of tone it down a little bit on those highlights though, on the cyan version. And click OK. So that's a quick little way that you can change the brightness of your individual images that you're going to come in and do. Now, say I want to, maybe do a drop shadow. I can do that by right-clicking and clicking Blending Options, and I can do a drop shadow. Now this type of drop shadow is going to be a little different because it's going to go around the actual image. So depending on where your sun is, it might look okay going that way. You want to make sure that it's selected so you can see all the different options, and you can select the distance. You can this different spread, the size of it. You can change where the angle is. Definitely don't want it to be down there. Maybe a little bit more, yeah, like that. So that is just subtle. The opacity, you can, if the higher the opacity, the darker the shadow. The lighter the opacity, the lighter the shadow. Okay, I just want a subtle one, so we'll put it at 40. Okay, so those are some different options to bring a little bit more depth to your photo. We're going to go over to the Jetsons, and we're going to make sure that we click on Rosie's layer and then go all the way up to the top. So whatever your bottom character is, it might be Rosie, it might not be. You're going to click on them and then shift and click on the very top character. This is going to select all of the layers, so you should see all of these selected. Okay? So now you're going to click and drag all of the Jetsons over to this layer. Now you notice when I do bring it over to this file, all of these are still selected. So with my move tool, I can move them all at the same time. But now I want to kind of play around with where they're at. So you can continue playing around with the different sizing. So maybe the robot found herself over here and she's super tiny to kind of go along with the scene. Okay. You can adjust her levels. You can literally add so many different things in here. Dino can be a little bigger. Their ship might be a little bit bigger too, just because it's closer. Okay, so going along with that concept, so maybe their ship is a little bit bigger. Things can overlap, so you can make it look um, like Dino is running away from the ship. You can place them different places in here. What you can do also is you can change their colors. So what I'm going to do is so that we can only change, I'm going to use the magic wand tool. Oh, I'm going to make sure that Dino is selected. And say I want to change the color of his fur. I can go in with my magic wand tool and I can select all the gray spots, and I am going to use my paintbrush tool, and I'm going to make him a nice bright yellow. And you can make your brush super big, and it's only going to affect the selection. When you're done, you can click deselect, and he's a new color. Okay, you can go in, you can change his color. I would highly suggest having fun with it and changing those colors. So again, with these tones, you can change the tolerance. You can continue clicking. Remember, you shift click to add to your selection. I'm going to make his color a nice bright cherry red. Okay, and I'm going to click my paintbrush tool, which you can click G as the paint bucket tool. Paintbrush is the B tool, the B on the keyboard. And I'm just going to click over that, hit deselect. And it's not super perfect, okay? It's fine if it's not super perfect. We're just getting the concept of selecting and being able to alter anything in those selections. And you can change the color of his tongue if you'd like. So go through each character, and by using those different tools, you can change their size, you can change their color, okay? You can add some different elements in there by just using those tools to select and to mask, to cut out, to cut and paste, like all of those different tools to have some fun with it. And then also you can go through and you can add drop shadows to each one of these characters if you'd like by just right clicking and going to blending options. Okay, there's tons of different things you can play around with. If you wanted to make them look a little bit more icon-y with bubbly, you can go into bevel and emboss, and they are going to then look, I'm going to click cancel. I'm going to scooch in on George so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. They're going to look a little bit more three-dimensional. You can totally do that. Have fun with it. Yeah, if you wanted to add more clouds in here, you can go through and cut out some different clouds. You can add some different things. Again, you can go through and on each individual layer, you can go in and go to image adjustments and change different things like color balance and the hue and saturation. Saturation is just going to be a brighter type of color if you go higher. Okay, so I just made him look a little bit more tan that way. You can make him look a little bit more muted and black and white by going all the way down on the saturation. Hue, you can change literally the color, but you don't have a lot of control because it's just adding color to what the color already is. Yeah, so if it's going to be on blue, it's going to add more blue hues to what you already have. It's very interesting. Okay, so have fun with it. Recolor them, do all the things, add more things if you want. Make sure that you're playing around with, obviously if things are closer, they're bigger. If they're farther away, they're smaller. Um, Add whatever you want, have fun with it, and when you're done, you can send a final image that says your username _ practice 4. Okay? Have fun.